Excellent. That's the cue. We are at 6:30, bang on time. Very happy to welcome all of you. Good evening and a very warm welcome. Let me put on my PPT, which is a slide deck. So just bear with me for a second here. We straight away go to the prizes, do we? Okay. We had about 700 registrations from India, 300 from Bangladesh, 200 from Nepal, about 50 from Bhutan too. So we have a lot of registrations down there with us. As you see, we have more than 130 participants and counting. So we are hoping to have a record number of people here. As well as there's going to be a live streaming on Facebook, on ETS Facebook page. So there's going to be a huge audience for everyone here. I'll kickstart off now our webinar. So a warm welcome to all the participants and to the panelists who we have here to this webinar titled Everything You Need to Know About Studying in the UK. Now, UK and India obviously share a rich cultural heritage. Besides, UK has an influence in our education system, our railways, postal office, bureaucracy, and even a part of our constitution. Many of you may not know, but India is the 10th largest service trade provider for UK, and more than 108,000. So in other terms, more than 108,000 student visas were issued in 21-22, which is almost double the number of last year. So there's a huge renewed interest in studying in UK. And we thought that we will get this stellar cast of panelists from diverse background to answer all the questions that our audience will have. Hence this feeble attempt to do this webinar with this telecast right now. Now, before we move further, I want to introduce the panelists to all of you. We have with us Shonagh Maak. Hi, Shonagh. She is the International Recruitment Manager for University of Glasgow. She has worked with students since 2008 in a variety of roles across admissions, student services, accommodation, international recruitment, partnership, etc. At the University of Glasgow, she leads a team of people across Glasgow, India, Singapore, Indonesia, with the main purpose of growing student enrollments and supporting diverse network of partners across the region. She's also leading university's overall agent engagement and management. And it's been 4 years for Shonagh in Glasgow, and she's the vice chair of the Scottish Universities International Group and has recently joined the Beulah Committee as co-op lead agent framework. Hi, Shonagh.
Hi, thank you so much for joining us today. Looking forward to speaking to everyone.
Thank you so much, Shonagh. Glad that you could make it. We also have with us Mahima Kapoor. She's the regional recruitment advisor for University of York. She has a degree in commerce and marketing from Delhi University and has started her education journey with British Council. At University of York, Mahima is responsible for supporting Indian students applying to the university. So very important people who are looking at University of York in this webinar. She's also very closely working with Indian higher education institution, British Council, York alumnus, and other key partners to spread awareness among students and helping them apply to her university. And she has spent the last 12 years in doing so. So thank you, Mahima. Thank you so much that you could join the panel today.
Thank you, Pawan. Thank you for having me.
We also have with us Sandy Bhangal, and Sandy has a little sore throat, so please bear with us and wish her speedy recovery. She is the Associate Director of TOEFL Client Relations at ETS Global UK, where she is there for 12 years now and is responsible for all outreach and communication in UK and Ireland. But besides that, she also has an oversight of client relations across various countries and continents, including Australia, China, Europe, India, and is working with higher education institutions, education advisors, government departments, and English language teachers. In her current role, Sandy is predominantly working with TOEFL client relations team, and she's working to promote TOEFL amongst their stakers, educators, and admission officers to meet their English language assessment needs. So thank you so much, Sandy, to be here on the panel today.
Thank you.
We have with us Saurabh Arora, who's the co-founder for University Living. He started his entrepreneurial journey while he was pursuing his MBA at the Nottingham Trent University, UK, NTU. He co-founded Unilodgers and then went on to found University Living in 2015. He has won Economic Times Power of Ideas Award, and he's also been nominated for BW's 40 Under 40, got featured in CNBC's Tie the Knot, and has received funding from a number of platforms. In 2021, University Living won the Best PropTech Solution at the Best in Class Awards 2021 and SaaS Startup of the Year 2021 at the FICCI TNI Startup Stars Award. He is also felicitated as one of the 40 Under 40 startup leaders by Observe Now and Dell Technologies. Wow, Saurabh, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Pawan. I mean, when your team send all these, fancy introduction, it's get embarrassing a bit.
Well, you deserve every bit of it. Thanks. We also have with us an alumni from the Loughborough University, Aarzoo Snigdha. Aarzoo is a creative communications professional and has completed her postgraduate diploma in English journalism from IIMC. She started her career as a journalist with BW Business World before moving to UK for her master's from Loughborough University. So it was good for having Aarzoo on the panel as an alumni and can tell the audience about what is life as an international student in the UK. She's worked as communication specialist for Modern Magazines in London, and upon returning to UK to India, she's joined India Today as sub-editor, and then went to lead a team of writers at Microsoft News Network as an assistant editor. She's also worked with UNICEF as communication consultant and as a journalist with the Hindustan Times and NDTV. Thank you so much, Aarzoo, for being on this panel today.
Thank you, Pawan. The pleasure is all mine. Thank you.
Thank you. So we have this fantastic cast of people that we have gathered for our audience today. But besides that, once we finish off this webinar, we answer all your questions. You also get a chance to win exciting prizes, courtesy ETS. So thank you, Sandy. There are 3 TOEFL vouchers, which are fully paid, worth $190 each, that you can win. You also have a chance of winning 5 Amazon vouchers of ₹1,000. And many of you who have taken TOEFL and want to use the additional score report vouchers, which are worth about $20 plus, you get 5 that in number. So a lot of prizes. We'll have a small quiz which you can attempt and have a chance of winning the prizes therein. So without further ado, enough of me. Let's listen to the panelists. We'll ask them some questions that we've gathered from the audience already. We have more than 200 participants right now who have joined us. And so welcome all of you. The first question that I would ask, Shonagh, I think let's get you here. Why should a student look at UK as a destination when most of the students of South Asia tend to go to US or Canada?
Sure. Can I just check that you can hear me okay? It says my internet connection's a little unstable, so I just want to make sure that that's okay.
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Perfect. Sorry, the joys of still doing some things remotely. So I tried to think of the reasons of why you should think of the UK before the US and Canada, and I've come up with what I would say are my 5 top reasons. I'm not going to give you just one reason, I'm going to give you 5 reasons. So firstly, UK universities have a really impressive international reputation and rank amongst the best in the world. Research carried out by UK universities affects every single person in this call, every single person in the world's life on a daily basis, from things like the television through to MRI scanning. All of those things were invented here in the UK. And the UK is internationally renowned for its excellent education standards. I think for me, again, every international student that we've spoken to generally feels really welcome here in the UK, really keen to get the most out of their time here. We're a really modern, welcoming, multi-faith society where lots of different languages are spoken, lots of people from different countries, different backgrounds live here, whether that's to study or whether they've made the UK their home for different reasons. And that's reflected in sort of, the shops, the food, places of worship that are available through every town and city here in the UK. I think work and the opportunity to work is a big driver for a lot of our international students, particularly we see that from South Asia students. So while you're a student studying, you can work up to 20 hours a week part-time, even working full-time during your semester breaks, which helps you to have a little bit of extra spending money for your bills, as well as getting some experience in the area that you might want to work in. And obviously now the international graduate immigration route has now sort of been implemented here in the UK. So students doing an undergraduate or a master's degree can benefit from 2 years work experience, and those of you who are doing a PhD have up to 3 years to remain in the UK, gaining professional experience, getting contact with employers, and also the ability, depending on sponsorship, to remain here sort of permanently if that's what you wish to do so. And I think lastly, it's really important to highlight there's such a huge variety of universities and degrees here for such a small country, actually, comparatively speaking, compared to the US or Canada. There are well over 100 universities and thousands of different degrees that you can study. So there really is something for everyone.
Oh, very nice perspective, Shonagh. Thank you so very much. Mahima, can I get you here for, do you have any additional comments or inputs that you'd like to share besides what Shonagh said?
Yeah, I think Shonagh almost covered everything. Like, of course, that one of the most prestigious universities are in UK. And if you Google about it, one out of every 7 world leader is a UK graduate. And so that's the quality of education we are talking about. And the best part is UK has got it's a 3 years degree similar to what we have in India and in other South Asian countries. Whereas in US and Canada, if they're going for an undergraduate degree, it'll be 4 years. If it's a postgraduate degree, it'll be 2 years. Whereas we have a master's degree, which is 1 year, and undergraduate degree, which is 3 years. So basically, students do save time and money as well, and they can start working right after their graduation. And now that we have, GIR, that's graduate immigration route, which allow them to stay back in UK and work full time. So it definitely, and we also get, just to let you know, mostly UK universities get a lot of students coming from US and Canada as well to come and study in UK to save their time, money, and get the best of the education.
Thank you, Mahima. Yes, if students are coming from US and Canada, then why are students going to US and Canada from India, right? They could look at UK as a destination, right? That's a great perspective. Thank you so much. But since I have you here, and you represent obviously University of York, what do universities look for in an application and personal statement when a student applies?
So personal statement is a very important part of an application. It's basically an essay about the student who's applying, and it gives a chance to the student to articulate why they are interested in a particular subject or a field, and talk about their passion. Why are they passionate to study that particular subject? Or if they specifically want to talk about a university, if they're targeting to kind of study in that particular university. So again, it depends what university they're applying for, because each university looks, they may look for something different. But I would suggest that it's a good idea to highlight all your academic as well as non-academic achievements. So talking about your academic achievements, but at the same time, any extracurricular activities that they might have participated, or any internships experience that they have, work experience, or over the weekend if they've worked, to kind of talk about those things. It's an opportunity for them to highlight all the skills they have acquired from all these different activities. Also, talk about the skill set that students have acquired while doing, for example, extracurricular activities. Just to give you an example, so somebody who's applying for a management course and have been a captain or a sports captain, so that talks about the leadership skill or a team working skill that they've acquired while working as a captain. So talking about the skill set, it's not just about the activities that you have been participating in or the kind of jobs that you've done, it's also the skills that you have acquired. So it's just a very important aspects of your application, because in most of the cases, there may not be an interview, and university, whosoever is assessing your application, will actually be understanding or assessing the student based on that personal statement. So it's a very, very important aspect of an application.
Thank you, Mahima. Shonagh, can I get you here in your perspective into this? please?
Yeah, I mean, I think my advice, sort of, I guess, in addition to what Mahima has mentioned, is often just to use your personal statement to tell us the things that we don't know already. So often I see students using some of their word count to tell me that they got a first class honours or they've studied a certain subject, and I can see that from your transcript. So use the space you have wisely. I think as well, being concise is really useful. I know you might want to tell us absolutely everything, but please remember that the people sort of looking at these statements will be reading thousands upon thousands of these. So, you know, actually you have a stronger application if your personal statement is sometimes a bit shorter. If you keep it concise, if you keep it succinct and really just highlight the sort of key points that you think will make you sort of stand out, would be the sort of bits of extra advice that I would add to that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Shonagh. Well, this is a question that comes a lot. And that's the question that everyone is so keen to get an answer to. Should they study in a Russell Group of institution, or should they look outside? Is a degree better? Sandy, if we can get you in here for your comments, please.
Yeah, sure. And this can be quite a controversial question. And this is a question that is often asked by domestic students, not just international. And in fact, one that I pondered with when I did my undergraduate and my postgraduate. And I would say that the general perception is that these are the best universities in the UK, but there's reasons for this perception. And one, I think, links to also the universities that students believe employers will look at in terms of where they've studied and would they be offered a job. However, I appreciate that the choice of where to study is indeed confusing. But one thing I would also consider noting is that Russell Group universities receive approximately 75% of universities' research grant money. On top of that, for several years, Russell Group graduates have held about 60% of jobs that actually require degrees. And they also, 60% of UK doctorates are also awarded by Russell Group universities. And again, Shonagh and Mahima can correct me if I'm wrong. Of course, many Russell Group universities are featured highly in university rankings. So I think in summary, when looking at the UK as a destination, are quite fortunate. The resources on offer, student satisfaction, and also, of course, if it so happens that the university you settle for is a member of the Russell Group, that's brilliant. But please don't worry if it is not, because the important point to know and prepare you for employment.
Thank you, Sandy. We also have two Indian students here who are alumni, and both Saurabh and Aarzoo. And when you were deciding for a university, did you consider this as a criteria for studying abroad? Anyone can go first, please.
Aarzoo, please go with that, because hearing me as a student was like, is he talking about me? It's been 12 years. So please go ahead, Aarzoo.
Right. So I think it is very important to choose the right degree first, as Sandy correctly mentioned. I wasn't considerate of understanding whether my university falls in this group or not. I was just considerate if my university is offering me the right blend of subjects and research topics that I want to study in future. So it is very important for a student to be convinced with what the university is offering as a curriculum in the program, instead of just looking for if it belongs to Russell Group or not.
Thank you, Aarzoo. You substantiated what Sandy said. Saurabh?
For me, it's about experience. It's about comprehensive, holistic experience. I mean, also it's like, it's not a thumb rule. I've seen people who have studied from not very popular universities and they have been doing amazing, personally and professionally, right? So I believe, I mean, as we call it, it should not be like, thumb rule. Even if, let's say, you're doing a course which is probably in a very small town, please go for it. Because you're not going there only for degrees, academics, but overall experience. At time, you need to go to a city which might not be expensive, but it's fitting your scheme of things. So at least that was my way of thinking. And yeah.
Thank you so much. That's a great perspective. So Aarzoo, you've been an international student, as we know. How was life in UK for you as an international student when you went from India out there? Overall experience, what should students or people who are desirous of going to UK as international students really look forward to?
Student life in UK as an international student is not as difficult as one would think. Studying and surviving in a new country may look hard initially, but gradually everyone gets used to it and they start to like it. So a blend of cultures and cuisines and the overall experience, like Saurabh rightly mentioned, is always exciting. And when you meet people from across the globe, it also helps in broadening your horizons and taking you out of the nutshell. So this was the most important thing and the most valuable thing that I gained after my experience in studying in UK.
Excellent, thank you. Saurabh, anything to add?
Surely, I mean, this is something which I'm very passionate about, because, we all talk about admission, degrees, academics, very, very important, right? But it's about your experience, and one thing which and I'm a bit biased for UK, because, I mean, and please disclaimer, I do UK, Australia, US, all the countries, island, but because I've studied there, spent more time in UK than other countries. So please dash or disclaimer there. But, we all know that UK is a, melting pot of culture. It's time wise is very well placed, right? Even, I mean, weather, it's getting better for sure, but but overall, whether it's cuisines, whether it's it's the culture and the experience, all the exposure we get in UK, I believe it's a bit better than other countries. And please, all my other university reps and my other associate don't like claim this for me. But I mean, also somewhere for Indian students or South Asian students, I would say, as Aarzoo mentioned, it's not difficult in UK. I would say it's quite easy. At least my transition was quite easy, because we come from a country or a region which been aligned to UK from centuries, right? So and you will definitely get enough Indians or enough Asians in UK than in other country. So you get best of both the world. You have Asians, Indians, South Asians, and then of course you have other European students. So you get best of both the world. So you will not feel lonely for sure. You will get food or your comfort food out there. In fact, at time it was easier to get comfort food in UK than in India. So so yeah.
Thank you so much, Saurabh. That's great perspective. Since we have you here and you have founded University Living, which is majorly accommodations, what, according to you, are the advantages and disadvantages of living on or off campus?
So I will be very, very unbiased here, right? I always say that, I mean, though, my vested interest is I say on campus, off campus is better than on campus. But I always say that if you are undergrad, do apply to university halls, and of course, both got their plus and minuses, right? I mean, if you're undergrad, I would say always apply to on campus. If you're lucky, if you might get your favorite hall or whatever room type you're looking, and so firstly go with that. And then again, if you ask me, off campus is more value for money. Why? Because of me. I mean, I have vested interest, but I genuinely believe, because see, I always say universities, their core is academics. Their core is not hospitality or accommodation, or all the halls are amazing, but then if they are still, I call them, they're not very well professionally managed accommodation, right? The new one, off campus student housing, what we call it PBSA, purpose based student accommodation, I call them more value for money, because they are more fancy, they're more premium, they're newly built, managed by a professional companies. So I call they are more value for money. But again, the halls, the hostels got their own charms, right? I mean, that's also experience and life. And if you're getting a chance or opportunity to stay in a hall of your choice, of your room type, if you're looking for an ensuite or mixed gender or a same gender flat, please go for it. But chances are, it's going to be very rare. And that's the gap we are bridging at University Living, wherein we help with, I mean, as a company, we say that do the right thing over the easy thing, so there are so many students, we have helped them with applying, or at least giving the information on how to apply for on campus. But we all know, there's only limited on campus accommodation. And for me, the bigger thing will be, once you start accommodation early, I have made that that mistake. No one told me. I went there, didn't get my accommodation, stayed in a hotel for 1.5 months, and probably that was my changing movement or my purpose of life. That, I mean, no one talks about accommodation because somewhere this is left over, right? But and then people go there, they have the experience, but they'll till then the damage has been done. Then it's damage control, right? So if you, the moment you know which city, which country you're going, you should also explore accommodation or post admission things, right? And it save your money. It also help you apply to your favorite uni hall or a campus, right? And you have a higher chances of getting that specific corner room or a higher floor, and probably might not be paying extra 20-30 quid for the same room. So definitely, mixed bag. On campus got their own charm, off campus their own advantages. And but very important to apply early.
That's a great input and insight, Saurabh. I think that's really important for the attendees to know, that when they apply, when they select the campus, when they select the city, they should look for accommodation. So thank you very much. Shonagh, if I can probably get in your hair again, when should a student typically start their application process if they're looking at UK as a destination?
Yeah, good question. I guess it depends, firstly, whether they're applying for undergraduate or postgraduate, because that does sort of make a bit of a difference. So with undergraduate, students need to be mindful of the UCAS deadlines. So for most for most international applicants, for next year, that deadline is the 25th of January. And if you're looking at studying at usually sort of medical, vet med, dentistry type programs, it's actually, or Oxford and Cambridge as well, the deadline is the 15th of October, so it can be very early in the cycle. Some universities will remain open after that January deadline. They will still have programs available, but sort of highly selective universities, and particularly for competitive subjects, will likely close to new applications after that point. For postgraduate, it does vary by university to university, and the best bit of advice I can give you is to apply as early as possible. We in the UK are seeing a sort of increase in applications coming in for all of our postgraduate programs, and we are seeing some universities closing earlier to new applications this year as well. So some universities will have sort of staged application processes to try and ensure that there is seats available for studying all year round. But we would encourage you to submit an application as early as possible. One thing I would highlight is you don't have to have all your documents sort of completed and finalised to make that application. So you can apply for a postgraduate programme without your final degree transcript. You can apply without evidence of your English language test. So if you're still waiting to do your TOEFL test, for example, you don't need that to make the initial application. There will be a couple of core documents that are required, usually your most recent transcript, your sometimes a reference or a statement of purpose, your passport, and then so if that was the case, you would have made a conditional application. And then when you have your English language evidence or your final transcript, you can upload that, and that would turn it into an unconditional offer once you've got all those documents. But we would encourage you to start applying as early as possible. Don't leave it till this sort of time of year to apply for a September postgraduate programme. We're seeing sort of longer and longer processing times, sometimes for offers. We're seeing longer visa processing times. So yeah, really encourage you to apply as early as possible, and check individual universities just in case they have deadlines for certain programmes as well, because it does vary from university to university.
Thank you, Shonagh. Mahima, anything to add on this?
So I think, yeah, most of the timeline has been covered by Shonagh. Like for UCAS, she correctly mentioned that it starts in September and then they have their own deadlines. And if the student is applying to a university which needs a UCAS application, an undergraduate student, then they need to follow UCAS timeline. For postgraduate students, it opens like, it always starts a year before. So for example, for September 2023 intake, their applications are going to open this September. So it's always a good idea to start early, because when you start early, you, at least if I talk about specific to Russell Group, we usually take about 4 weeks or 6 weeks to give out the decision. And then once you have the decision, you will start your scholarship application if the university is offering any scholarship, and accommodation. Like Saurabh correctly mentioned, you must book your accommodation early, because if you're going to leave it for the last minute, possibility is that you may not find the kind of accommodation you are looking for, or you might end up booking a very expensive accommodation. So unnecessarily your living expenses will go up. So starting as early as possible, and then if you don't want to miss on scholarship, don't want to miss on accommodation, so make sure that you have your decisions from all the universities that you're planning to apply, so that you can actually make most of it.
Thank you, Mahima.
Sorry, can I barge in? I'm really sorry,
No, please go on.
Mahima talk about the scholarships, right? So, and I'm sorry, I'm shamelessly planned a university living scholarship here, but, good thing is that, these are scholarships which are still there, and in fact, the idea of adding these scholarships, beyond academics is that most of the students, miss scholarships, especially from Asia students, because of the timelines, right? And, or, because we are more about living experience, we are more about post-admission, everything. So we thought it would be a good idea to, have a scholarship even later in the, journey or a cycle, wherein if there's a student who is, and talking about scholarship, we are, it's not nothing to do, I mean, of course, academics is important, but one of the major criteria is not academics, right? I mean, people who get marks get a scholarship, great, but there are also people like me who didn't get marks, who are more extracurricular, more into other things, right? Even they also get a chance, they should also get a chance to read best of universities, just not because of financial, financial not sorted for them. So we launched this scholarship, which is socially impact scholarship. In fact, we collaborated with few of the universities, and and we announcing winners, and still there are few city type scholarship, which you can look at universityliving.com, where we covered few of the most popular cities, where most of the good universities are. Yeah, I'm so sorry if I'm shamelessly publishing, but it's very, very important for students, and we have provision amount for it, so we really want to spend that.
Thank you. We jumped a few slides. There was a question on scholarship, but yes, great. Thank you for letting us know. But we'll get that to later on. Thank you, Saurabh. Sandy, I think you need to come in here. This is a very important question asked by a lot of students. So, which English language proficiency tests are accepted by British institutions, and do you prefer any at ETS?
Thank you. And absolutely, it's a very important key question, especially when we come on to perhaps discuss the CAS issuance, because part of getting a visa, you need to demonstrate that you are proficient. UK universities accept a number of English language tests, and I'm delighted, of course, to confirm that we have 100% acceptance of all TOEFL IBT tests in the UK. During the pandemic, UK universities, including our 2 partner universities with us this afternoon, worked incredibly hard to widen the number of acceptable English language tests that they would accept. And this was really to ensure that students could get access to testing, which obviously at the time was also the TOEFL Home Edition, in order to make an application. So whilst it's great that you as prospective applicants can have a choice of several tests, it's important to note that universities' entry requirements for each test should be taken into account. I genuinely feel that UK universities do not show preference, and I applaud them for that. Yes, there are a number of various tests besides TOEFL, but I genuinely believe the way universities, including York and Glasgow, list the English language tests do a stellar job. They make the information very accessible and easy to understand on their respective web pages. When UK universities, which they do very often, review their English language tests, they need to, it's a rigorous process, because they really need to ensure that the students that are applying to their university are truly proficient. Because at the end of the day, each UK university has a responsibility. They need to ensure that that their international students are able to progress, that they have a good experience, and they actually leave with a good honours degree. It's really important for them. And that UK universities understand the expense. And in fact, I would want to use this opportunity to say how proud we are in terms of the TOEFL family, to be told by many universities that have undertaken their own internal research, which is publicly available, which really sets out that TOEFL IBT scores truly reflect the ability of the test taker to use and understand English as it is spoken, written and heard in English medium, college and a university setting. So please check the university websites as for the requirements, and I think you will be pleasantly surprised at the number of choices you have. And again, our partner institutions are very welcome to add to that.
Okay. Thank you, Sandy. Very helpful. Coming to you, Aarzoo, what are the typical living costs while studying in the UK? I mean, as a student, you experienced that not very long back. So what are the typical costs that students should keep that in mind, either while applying for universities in cities or even after going there? What should they keep in mind?
Right. So the living cost in UK totally varies from person to person and their choices. So though many universities in the UK, they provide student resident halls, and these living spaces include the cost of utilities in the overall price. So among the first year students, they like to choose the student residence halls, which we usually call hostels in India. They're very popular. And among those who are going for their postgraduate studies, they would either like to rent an apartment alone or with their peers. So how much you end up spending largely depends on where you live. So for example, if you live in a big city like London, so the living cost on a monthly basis can easily jump over £1,300. While in a smaller city, you may just fall in a budget between £650 to £1,050 per month. So it totally depends on what kind of accommodation you are looking for, what kind of mess services and food services you have opted for. And if you're happy to make your own meal at home, and if you're happy to live slightly far from the campus in a smaller city, then the cost that you will be paying for will be very less as compared to the big cities.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Aarzoo. I'll get you here, Saurabh. Beside hostel rooms, you mentioned on campus and off campus, but what other kind of accommodation choices do students have when they go to UK?
Right. So see, prima facie, there are three options, right? One is uni halls or on campus, what we call it, or hostels, what we call it in India and Asia, right? Then there is off campus accommodation, and within that off campus, you have PBSA, which is purpose-built student accommodation, which are meant for only students, student housing, right? And then you have private apartments, and in private apartments also they are if I'm allowed to use the jargons or industry, terms, one is HMO, which is house for multiple occupancy. These are a bit more budget options, and then you have these, build to rent or PRS, which are like a bit more premium private apartments, or what we call in India or Asia, your private apartments, So these are prima facie, three options, right? Yeah. You want me to go in different room types also?
You can do that. I think that'll be helpful for the students.
Okay.
Thank you.
And again, if you get into student rooms or room types, they are like, shared rooms or private rooms wherein you have your own room, but you share washrooms with other students, right? Most of the uni halls are shared washrooms or mixed rooms. Then you have en suites. That means you have your own room, you have your own kitchen, but kitchen you have your own washroom, but kitchen will be shared with 4 or 6 or 8 students in that cluster of room type. And then you have studios wherein it's more self-contained, it's more premium, wherein you have your own room, you have your own washroom, and it also got a small kitchenette, like a pantry within that that room. So if you are a vegetarian, or if you are looking for, you are more mature student, then we suggest go for studios. And then you have these these apartments wherein you can 3-4 student can patch in and then probably go for a private apartments. Yeah. So these are the room type, these are the accommodation type most of the students prefer in UK, or you have it in UK.
Thank you, Saurabh. That's very helpful. Shonagh, if I can get you back, I think this is very important. What is a caste letter? And I know there are many questions here, but we have all of them probably, if you can answer, and probably I'll have Mahima also jump in here. Is it important for visa? And how much time does it take for a student to receive the caste from university?
Yeah, so a CAS, or if you go by its formal name, is a confirmation of acceptance for studies letter, and it's an electronic document issued by the university that you have selected. So you've made your sort of final decision that you're going to attend, to basically confirm that you have accepted your unconditional offer. You've met all the requirements that were outlined, whether it's English language, academic. You may have also been required to pay a deposit. You've done all that, and you are now ready to apply for your visa in order to come to the UK to take up your place on the degree that you've chosen to study. Now that CAS is unique to you. It includes your personal details, such as your name, the course that you're going to study, the duration of your study. And depending on sort of each university, there is a slight difference in terms of when you might receive that and how long it will take. So usually CASs will start to be issued around about 3 to 4 months before the start of your degree programme. Now it's not automatically. So, for example, here at Glasgow, we started issuing our CASs for this year on the 1st of June. We can't issue them all on the 1st of June. We have thousands to issue, so it can take a little bit of time to work our way through those. But usually it's around 3 to 4 months before the start of your course starting. One thing I would highlight again to students is it's really important. Most universities will have a process before your CAS is issued to check that all the details is correct. And please make sure that you do that. One of the biggest things that sort of slows down our processing of CASs, but also then potentially has a knock-on effect for you being able to apply for your visa, is students not properly checking those details. So there might be a typo in your name. It might be that you applied for 2 programs and we've got the wrong program on the CAS. It might not show your deposit if you've paid one. So please check that before you accept it. Again, each university will be slightly different, but for us, once you've confirmed everything is correct, it will usually take 5 working days in order for us to issue you with that CAS letter. And again, just for clarity, working days here in the UK is Monday to Friday. So Saturday, Sunday don't count towards those 5 days. So we do try to do it as quickly as possible. But bear in mind, again, just build that into your time frame for applying for your visa appointment and things as well.
Thank you, Shonagh. Let me get Mahima here. Mahima, we spoke about scholarship, and I think Saurabh was very kind enough to say that University Living has their own scholarship programs there. But are there any scholarship opportunities for students in your universities or Shonagh University? If yes, what is the criteria and the process, and how can students take advantage of the same?
Thank you, Pawan, for asking that question, because scholarship is one of the questions that we get a lot from students. So mostly UK universities do offer a number of scholarships for international students. At York, yes, we offer a range of scholarships, but they have their own timeline and deadline. So like I mentioned earlier, that you must apply timely, because once you have an offer, only then you are eligible to apply for these scholarships. So at York, we offer scholarships where we need a separate application from students. After they receive an offer, they need to apply for these scholarships. It may range from 2,500 to up to £20,000 as well. These are the scholarships which are open for all international students. Then we also have nationality-based scholarship, which might be very specific, like, for some countries where the department or a international office is offering that scholarships. So those scholarships are also available to apply at this stage for the next intake, like for September 2022 that we are starting, like, we are about to start. Like for this intake, all scholarships are closed, like, they have their own deadline, like I mentioned. So this is very late in the year. So if somebody who's looking for the next intake must start with their application process early. Most these scholarships, again, it depends what scholarship you're applying for. We look at your academic achievement, like how academically you've scored. It will be a merit-based scholarship. But at the same time, we do offer scholarship which will look at a lot of other achievements as well. So if you have been, let's say, very good at sports, or you've done a lot of public service, you work with, you've done community service, or you have some exceptional internships. So anything which can make your applications stand out. So, we call it the exceptional scholarship. So any area of life where you have done exceptionally well, and if that is something that we are convinced about, that yes, you have done so well in this particular area, we are happy to offer scholarship based on that. So mostly UK universities offer scholarship, whereas it will be academic, plus there would be universities offering scholarship which will be based on your extracurricular activities or work experience, or if you've published any papers, let's say. That those are things that hold a lot of weightage. So it depends what university that you are applying for. There are some automatic scholarships as well. Some universities offer automatic scholarship where you're holding an offer, and if for a particular subject, and they may just kind of give you some amount of scholarships. So it's a good idea to check which university you're applying to and what kind of scholarships that they're offering.
Thank you, Mahima. Shonagh?
Yeah, very similar here at Glasgow. We've got a pretty wide range of scholarships available for students. And I think, it's really interesting hearing, there's things like, awards through the likes of, university living as well. There's a huge range of external scholarships that you can apply for as well. You've obviously got things like Chevening, Commonwealth, British Council offer scholarships. A number of different businesses will look to offer students as well. It does require a bit of effort. I think sometimes I get lots of questions, and, people want a scholarship straight away. They want to, they think, oh, I've got good grades, so I should definitely get a scholarship. But actually, if you spend a bit of time, look around, do your research, there are lots of opportunities there. I think it just requires, a little bit of time and effort to put in those applications. And again, one thing I would highlight is it always sort of frustrates me when I see sort of some of the scholarship applications coming through, and people have made really silly mistakes, like they've left the wrong university name on an application, for example. And we know that you're applying to a couple of universities. You should be applying to lots of universities. I don't mind that, but just be careful that you're including the right details in the scholarship application for the university that you're applying to. Show us that you've done that little bit of research. And actually, we talked about academic excellence awards, but one of the things that we're often looking for that's most important is people who are going to be really positive student ambassadors, people who are going to really throw themselves into life at the university, get involved, talk to other students, go back to, their home country and say, oh, when I studied at York or Loughborough or Glasgow, I had an amazing time. The UK was really safe and welcoming. And here's the vlogs that I did when I was here. So academic grades are important, but actually what we're often looking for is someone who's really going to sort of wave that flag for the university in the UK during their studies and afterwards as well.
Thank you, Shonagh. And I recently read that UK government has also announced 75 fully funded scholarships from the month of September onwards. So there's a huge scholarships which are on the offering, to what Shonagh, Mahima, and Saurabh said. So guys, use that to your full advantage. Moving on, I think this is again a very important question, something which interests a lot of Indian students, if I may say, and or students from other nationalities as well, I guess. But Sandy, what is the graduate route? I think we had Mahima touch upon this in the beginning of the presentation, but would you go into more detail of what the graduate route is and how does it benefit the students?
Sure. So the graduate route is a very exciting and welcome change by many. And we're pleased that the government policy was introduced back in 2021. However, it's worth noting before I go into the finer details that the graduate route does indeed require a new visa application, which is only possible from inside the UK. And this application requires a visa fee and an immigration surcharge. So students, when they're looking to transfer to this route, need to know the confirmation of studies, CAS, that Shonagh referred to, that they used for their most recent study in order to apply. So that's really important. You need that. If you choose this route, you don't need a sponsor, you just need that CAS number. However, it's worth noting that the route is non-extendable and does not count towards settlement. However, graduates who do find an appropriate job and meet the requirements and be able to apply for work routes, including the skilled worker, which does indeed lead you to settlement. So in summary, international students who have completed a degree, an undergraduate or postgraduate at a higher education provider with a good track record of compliance, and you have a valid Tier 4 or a student visa at the time of application, you can indeed apply. You can stay and work or look for work at any skill, at any level, for a maximum period of 2 years. And that's slightly longer for those that do a PhD. And again, very much happy for our guests from York and Glasgow to add anything that I may have missed or is incorrect.
Mahima, Shonagh, anyone would like to add to more what Sandy said?
I think Sandy covered almost everything. So yes, that's the graduate route basically allows you to stay back in UK and work full time. So that this just allows you as an international student, it gives you the flexibility to work and switch jobs if needed or develop your career. So it allows you time to develop your career as you want. And of course, if you have a full-time job, so after 2 years also, if you want to apply for a work permit, if you have a full-time job and your employer has agreed to sponsor your visa, so you can convert your Tier 2 visa to Tier 4 visas. So it gives you a window or an opportunity to prove yourself, which was not there earlier. And this is really a very welcoming a thing from UK government for all international students.
No, absolutely. I think we love that, right? To study and work. Shonagh?
Yeah, the sort of final thing I was going to add is, and I think it's often important to a South Asian audience actually, is just to highlight that the UK university system doesn't have a placement system though at the end of it. So the opportunity to get a graduate job, to take advantage of that graduate immigration route, you are the person that will find that job. We will give you all the tools and support through our fantastic careers teams on our university campuses to do so, through workshops, through CV building sort of skills, through interview skills. There will be, days to meet with employers and job fairs, but it's not like, some of the South Asian education systems where there's a placement at the end of it. It's a sort of guaranteed position, and just something to sort of flag to students as well, that there is a responsibility on them to do that. But we will give you, as I say, all the tools in your sort of armor to be able to get that job.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So maybe this question is for our international student, Aarzoo. Are there any jobs on campus which are available for students from your experience? And should they apply on their own or from the career center?
There are numerous jobs available on the campus, and I'm a strong advocate of it. Anyone who's going to live and study in UK, I mean, this is one of the best things that you can do. If you network wisely and if you keep a track of the events on the university's website, you'll be able to find one. For example, the jobs like student ambassador, student content creator, student contact center head, teaching assistantship, admin assistant, IT support, and others are available on the campus itself. You may have to apply for the jobs on your own, but it is always wise to consult a counselor at the university's career center. They may help with your job application process, cover letter, and if you're looking for not just a part-time job, if you also want to go in an internship or you want to apply to a company that really fascinates you, then you can simply talk to the counselor at your career center and they may alert you about the upcoming vacancies they have or about the upcoming education's fair and other relevant details. To all the students going abroad, and I just have one thing to say. As an international student, I have personally experienced this, that from your professor to the one sitting in the international department, to the one who is actually teaching you, training you, offering you internships, counseling you for various events, everyone will be very happy to help you find and secure a job. So they might not promise you a job, they might not give you an offer letter, but they will certainly guide you and they will show you the right direction to get one.
Excellent. Thank you, Aarzoo. So how should a student, I mean, I don't know if you did a part-time job while you were a student there, but how should a student generally get about a part-time job which is outside the campus now? So another opportunity.
If you're willing to do practically anything for the reason of earning some extra cash, it is quite easy to get a part-time job and part-time work in the UK. You are free to reach out to the firms and ask for an internship or a part-time work. You are also free to reach out to the supermarkets, to small publishing agencies, to the places inside and outside of your campus if they're looking for some hand. I think you're allowed to work close to 20 hours a week, and from university unions to other places outside the campus, I mean, most people would pay you more than the minimum wage. So if you're really willing to do anything, if you're happy to earn some extra cash, I mean, you can just go outside the campus and ask around, look for the vacancies, check a couple of websites, and also talk to the people inside and outside your university, and you'll be able to secure one. It's not that difficult.
Excellent. Thank you. Sandy, I think this is something which comes up quite often. Can someone get a language proficiency test waived off? And how important, if not, how important is it to kind of get admissions in UK universities?
Sure. I'm going to briefly answer this, and then if I may, I'm going to defer to both our university partners to elaborate further. In short, yes, there can be a waiver, but only under certain circumstances. However, you as a student will need to provide the university with the necessary evidence, especially if you're applying for a waiver based upon having completed a degree course in English. Whilst each university has such requirements listed on the website, I really think it will be valuable to speak with our colleagues from York and Glasgow on this. And I thank you ladies in advance for helping me with this one.
I may go first. So,
Yes, please,
yeah.
Mahima. Thank you.
So at York, so yes, mostly UK universities will offer, especially for South Asian students, they may offer English language waiver. So it's a good idea to check with on the university's website or with the university rep if they're offering that. Like in specific to York, we do offer English language waiver if it's a postgraduate student and if they've graduated in last 2 years, and they can provide us a letter from the university they've graduated confirming that the medium of instruction was English. If it's an undergraduate student and if they're from, if they've scored 75 and above in their grade 12, based on that, we are happy to waive off English because mostly South Asian students don't really struggle with English. English is more or less have become like a first language here. So yes, so at York, we do offer waiver, and if you if you are a recent graduate, then yes, you can always go for an English language waiver.
Excellent. Shonagh, you don't need anything in this?
Yeah, sorry, I just tried getting the unmute button again there. Yeah, I think it does vary for sort of certain programs and sort of depending on where students have applied from. So we do accept some sort of English language waivers. Typically, if you've perhaps done an undergraduate degree in what the UKVI would define as an English speaking country. So that might be somewhere like, Canada or Australia. Perhaps you've done a sort of TNE degree, perhaps your undergraduate degree was taught in English. You did 2 years in, you're in India or Pakistan or Nepal, and 2 years here in the UK. As I say, it does vary. We will accept some waivers at undergraduate level, depending on, scores that you've got in your high school qualifications, if you've studied, GCSE or A levels and things as well. So there are a number of opportunities where an English language waiver will come into place, but it does vary per university. And, if you're ever not sure, it should be clearly listed on a university's website or contact the sort of local representative, because it's not, unfortunately, a standard yes or no answer. Is it does depend on where you're applying from, what the reason for your waiver might be, what program you're applying for. So for us, sometimes things like TESOL might be one where we're a bit stricter. So if it's got one of the higher IELTS requirements and things as well. So a few, not a straightforward yes or no answer, sorry Sandy, from us, but yes, it is possible, but just have a proper look at the website or reach out to the local rep if you're not sure.
Thank you, ladies. This is interesting, right? So I don't know if we have, Saurabh, you jump in here for this. Outside India, and sure, we love eating Indian food, home away from home kind of thing, right? So in the accommodation that University Living suggests, which are, I think, off campus, especially, and even with your experience of on campus, Is that a problem? We like to cook our curries with masalas and typical Indian food aroma that kind of emanates. So, what was the view around it?
Do I really need to answer because every expression says it all? So again, let me impress people. Right now, I can cook five course meal. And that is another thing which I believe every parents should send their kids abroad. They will definitely learn more than just boiling eggs and probably teas, right? So definitely, I mean, food and housing are two things which are very, very important, but no one talks about it. And especially food, and especially we being Indian, I mean, we love our food. And so most of the off campus housing, right, they have kitchenette and they have their studios where you can cook, right? Good thing about UK, it's I believe it's easier to cook in UK than in India. Lots of your vegetables and your fruits and are all chopped, right? And then you all have your curries which your MDH masalas and other things which you can take it from here, and you get it from there easily. No point stocking your bags and paying extra baggage. You can easily get from there. And so I would say easier to cook out there because things are more organized, and you get more chopped things. And most of the student housing, they have a provision to cook, right? And in fact, one quick hack, cook on a Saturday or a Sunday evening, stock it, freeze it, and then you keep warming, heating up your curries, and you can use it for for rest of the week or probably fortnightly. That's what we used to do it. I mean, we have eaten fortnightly, freeze food. uh, and so yeah, and if you are on campus, there are few on campus which are catered also. So if you are someone who don't want to cook, and you are happy with a bit early breakfast and an early dinner, then those catered halls can also come handy.
Excellent, great insight. Thank you. And what are typical accommodation costs in urban or semi-urban areas for students, while studying in UK? So if it's Aarzoo or Saurabh, both of you can probably jump in here.
Yeah, Arjun, you want to go ahead?
Please, Saurabh, you may. I'll continue.
Right. So see, price wise, it's a very diverse and a very I don't have the right answer to this because it varies I a blanket statement. Everything is a trade-off between price, location, and room type, right? Whether it's London, whether it's York, whether it's Glasgow, everything, or any other city, everything is trade-off. You in London, you can be accommodated within 180 to 220 pounds a week, right? And then you might have to shell 500-700 pounds a week. Same with York. You can get like, please don't keep it against me, because I mean, we do 265 cities, so at time I go a bit haywire. But with York, if you're looking for a studio, 200-250 pounds a week. If you're looking for ensuite, 150-200. And of course, the way it's going in York, Glasgow, London, I would say get it whatever you're getting. Right. And so yeah, typically in London, 180 to 300 for an ensuite room, right? And 300 plus for a studio. Outside London, most of the cities, if you're looking for a studio, probably now 160 to 220, 250 pounds a week, and 100 or 120 to 150 for an ensuite. Again, these are prices keep changing, as I'm saying, please don't hold against me. And that's why starting early is very important. So yeah, that's a primary facie, or I would say range for prices, 180 to 300 for ensuite in London, and 300 plus in studio for a studio. Outside London, 120 to 160 for ensuite, 160 to 250, even 300 for a studio outside London, in most of the popular cities: Nottingham, Manchester, York, Glasgow. We know what's happening. York, we know what's happening. So please, guys, don't book through us, but please get your accommodation sorted.
Thank you. Aarzoo?
It typically goes around, like back 5 years back, it was around 200 pounds per week for us. So we used to, when we were staying in Loughborough, it was around £160 for us. And when we were staying in London, it was around 200 to £220 for us. It always includes all the bills, electricity bill, water bill, whatever bill that is included in the bill. But it really varies. If you're looking for an ensuite apartment, then it probably goes up to £500. If you're happy to share a room with other flatmates, it will be around 200 to £300 a month if it is a big city. It may go down if you're living in a smaller city.
Awesome. Thank you very much. That's really, really helpful, Saurabh and Aarzoo. We come to the last question that we gathered from the audience here. And then we look at all the questions that we have got in the Q&A section. But let me go to you, Shonagh. How do universities take care of diversity? Is it a more diverse pool that universities are looking at, or is it like you are looking at certain nationalities to fill the classroom? How does it really work, and what can students expect?
Yes, I think all the universities, certainly on the call today and across the UK, internationalisation and a diverse student body is something that's really important to them. We have sort of over 140 different nationalities here on campus. And I think I use the word campus because I think that's something that's important. There will always be certain subjects that are more popular with certain nationalities. So some subjects might feel slightly less diverse in terms of the student population that are in them. We know, for example, we're talking about South Asia. So if I think about India, we've seen a huge surge in demand for data science, data analytic programs from India. So there will be probably a higher population of Indian students on programs like that, as opposed to maybe say some of our creative arts or other programs across the university. But don't just think of your classroom as where that diversity happens. There's opportunity to mix with students from all nationalities through your accommodation. Student accommodation is a big one, through the clubs and societies that you get involved with. We've talked about part-time work. One of the things that our students tell us that they really value through taking on a part-time job that is perhaps sometimes not related to their degree at all. They're working in a supermarket or working in a restaurant, but they get to meet much more of the local community sort of here in Glasgow. We're often Glasgow has a reputation of being very friendly, very welcoming. I often say you'll get a very warm welcome in Glasgow. You might not get warm weather all the time, but you'll get a warm welcome from the people. So that diversity comes in lots of ways, but it's something that is fundamental to every university, and it goes into what we do with even our UK students as well. So, we don't want all of our UK students to come from Glasgow. We do lots of work in all parts of the UK to make sure that we have a diverse population even from here within the UK. So yeah, something that's really important. But yeah, encourage you to, if you do end up in a class or even your flat, sometimes you might think, oh, all my flatmates are from, or 3 of my 5 flatmates are all from, this country or from the same town as me. That's sometimes just the way the allocation system works. And there's lots of opportunities for you to meet people from all sorts of parts of the world.
Thank you so much. That's very, very detailed. Thank you. Mahima, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, I think like Shonagh mentioned that it is, very diverse. Mostly UK universities, you'll find they're very diverse. In your classroom, you will probably have so many different nationalities studying, and you just learn so much from them as well. It's not just the academic degree that you're actually going forward. It's also the experience that you have from sharing your classroom to probably your accommodation, even the societies and clubs that you join in. You will be actually interacting with a lot of different nationalities, your part-time jobs. So it's give you an overall experience. It just makes you more adaptable. So when you study in UK or abroad, you're not just an Indian citizen or a South Asian, or whatever country you're coming from. You actually, when you graduate, the expectation is you should become a global citizen who's ready to work in any part of the world and adapt to any culture. So yes, diversity is something which is very important for UK. In fact, mostly UK universities have a dedicated international team supporting students, and so that is a very important aspect of a UK university.
Thank you so much, Mahima. That brings us to the last of this question. And now we'll get into the question answer round. Just to tell the audience here that there are exciting prizes as we discussed. So once we take up your questions that you've posted in Q&A section, we'll have the panelists answer those questions. And after this is over, we'll get into the quiz round with all the exciting prizes. So just hang on. So the first question we have is from Twika Nuthiti, if I pronounced your name right. She's asking, which is the best university for masters in food technology? I'm not sure if yeah, that's a very specific question, but if anyone has any clue here, we can answer her.
Yeah, I mean, I think with all, I've seen there's a couple of questions coming in about, they're very specific about that. And what I would say is, the best thing to do is the internet is your friend in lots of ways. So use the internet to try and narrow down your initial choices. If there's an education fair taking place in your town or city, go along, meet with the university representatives that are there. The best, it kind of comes back to some of the conversations that we had at the start about, is a Russell group better? For the person that's asked that question, it's going to depend on what their academic grades are, what is important to them in terms of, do they want to be in a city university? Do they want to be somewhere more rural? What is their budget? Things as well. So I think it's really hard to answer sort of questions sort of specific as that, but if you've got sort of questions about individual programs at any university, again, check their website. Most of them will have a dedicated person for South Asia who'd be happy to chat through sort of programs at their university, and often recommend elsewhere. It's something that we spend a lot of time and are starting to again, which is nice, traveling with colleagues from other universities. So sometimes if a student wants to come to a program at Glasgow, but they're not the right academic profile, I know that actually, there's a couple of other universities that offer similar programs or a subject that we don't offer, and can recommend that as well. So have a little Google on the internet, speak to some of the education advisors that are out there, come along to events that are happening, and hopefully that'll help people narrow down their selections.
Thank you. I think that's really interesting.
Shonagh, you've been quite humble, because I just Google, University of Glasgow is coming top there. and to add to another, Nottingham is a city where you have good for food technology.
Excellent. Thank you so much for making their job easier, Saurabh. It's really interesting. We also have a question on some good universities in UK for doing masters in mechanical engineering. So I know we may not want to again Google it here, but does University of York or Glasgow offer such thing for masters in mechanical engineering?
So at York, we offer an undergraduate degree in mechanical engineering, but I'm afraid we do not offer a master's in mechanical engineering at York.
Excellent. No worries. Thank you. Yep. Sandy, this one's for you. Is GRE required in UK at all, or some of the universities in UK? What exams should students write for studying in UK? Are there typical exams that they should write?
Okay, thank you for your question. So the GRE requirement is really dependent on which course you want to do within that business school. Some do have waivers and you have to produce or provide other evidence. So it just really depends on the university requirements. But unlike an English language test such as TOEFL, it's not, GRE is not a prerequisite. In regards to the second part of the question, what exams should one take? You do need to take an English language test, and TOEFL obviously is one of those choices. It's required as part of your visa. Our colleagues at York and Glasgow will not be able to offer a CAS unless you have taken an English language test and met the university's entry requirements.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Mary. We have a specific question, and I think it's Shonagh and Mahima who can answer. Is it okay if I have a few backlogs in one of my semesters with a sudden drop in my CGPA, but eventually I manage to increase it back up? What if the overall CGPA is low?
Okay, I will go. Shall I?
Okay.
Sorry, Shonagh, please go ahead. Yeah. Okay.
So, sorry, on you go, Mahima.
Okay, thank you, Shonagh. So yeah, thank you, Pawan, for asking that. you need to meet the minimum requirement of CGPA. So it depends what university you're coming from. So if you have a minimum requirement, like, if at York, if we are asking, let's say, for example, if you're asking for 60%, so you need to have 60% or, minimum to that's equivalent to that percentage, like whatever CGPA is required. As far as backlogs are concerned, well, we don't really have a minimum number for which I can say that we can accept these many backlogs. But I would say if it's about 3 or 4 backlogs, 5 backlogs, and if you have already cleared it by the time you are applying, we will definitely consider you if your CGPA, overall CGPA is good. But if it's, let's say, for example, we do get students, are reaching out to us with 20 backlogs, or, just that's a lot actually. And that obviously impact your overall CGPA as well. So that may be difficult, that may not be possible in that case for us to consider you for admission. But if it's 3-4 backlogs, and if you meet the overall criteria, we're happy to consider you for admission.
Thank you, Mahima. Saurabh, this one is for you. What was the scholarship website Saurabh sir was talking about? Would you give that website where they can get more information about University Living Scholarship, please?
Want me to write it on the chat?
Yes, if you can do the chat, that'd be great.
Sorry. So it's universityliving.com. I guess there's a space there. Yeah. So it's universityliving.com. It's universityliving.com.
Okay. Thank you. I hope you got that, guys. Okay. Are there any subsidies in specific restaurants, food services for students? Can they
Can I
get
add
it cheaper?
Yeah. So we just tie up with with this app called Food Hub, wherein and it's one of the cheapest app to order your food in UK, right? And because see, as a company or as an individual, I know that food, I mean Hindi mein I'll call it rehna and khana, these are two things. It's very important, but it's tricky, right? So that's why accommodation, housing we have sorted. Now we will also try to do things which make student life easier and probably more affordable. So yeah, Food Hub.
Great. So this question is, are any of the different accepted English language proficiency tests, which means IELTS, TOEFL, PT, Duolingo, considered more prestigious than the others? That is, does the choice of a test considerably affect the application? Maybe Mahima or Shonagh or Sandy?
Sure. Yeah, I'll briefly start because our partners may be too shy, but I truly still stand by what I said earlier. The UK universities that I most certainly work with are very fair in terms of accepting most English language tests. However, they can only accept tests that truly provide students with scores that reflect the student's ability to be able to progress. That's really important for universities to accept tests where students are going to be able to be successful. And as Shonagh said earlier, go back and be an ambassador for not only the UK, but for the university where they studied. So I do think they're very fair, and preference from my point of view is not necessarily shown. There are some myths out there about which test is accepted, because as we know, TOEFL is a test administered, made by an American company, but that does not mean that it does not open up doors for students to study in the UK.
Okay, excellent. We have so many questions, so I'll just run through.
I was just going to add to Sandy's answer from that, as long as it is one of our approved English language tests, the short answer is we don't care which one. We just want you to be able to evidence that you've got that qualification. And I think, having those options, I think sometimes there are one or two that people know, are better known. But if you can't get one of those tests because there's a backlog in the testing centre in your city, and you can complete one of the other English language qualifications, then please do, that's why they're listed there. They're all accepted, and, we're more concerned that you get the grades to be able to come and progress rather than which means of testing you've chosen to do so.
Great. Quickly, anyone, what's the average total cost of studying UK? I know it varies, but if there's a ballpark or a range that can be given to the attendees here. They've asked this question, please.
Well, it completely depends what university you're applying for, because because every university will have their own fee structure. So for example, at York, if you're applying for a lab-based program, if I'm specifically talking about, masters, so if it's a lab-based program, it may cost you about £24,500. Whereas if it's a non-lab-based program, it may cost you about £20,000. So that's mainly about the fee structure, and every university will have a different fee structure. Specifically coming to living expenses, well, so UKVI have their own guidelines. I think Aarzoo and Saurabh have already covered about what living expenses may cost, like if you're living in London or outside London, or what city you're choosing, to study your degree and where your university is located. But specifically to UKVI guidelines, if you're studying outside London, you need to maintain in your bank account at least £9,207 in specific, for 9 months living expenses. If you're studying inside, if you're studying in a London-based university, I think it's approximately £1,033 that you need to maintain in your bank account. So that's the minimum requirement as per UKVI guidelines.
Thank you, Mahima. Aarzoo or Saurabh, this one's probably for you. As international students, what's the biggest challenge that we might face in the UK?
Please go ahead.
I was culturally shocked when I reached there. So it was very new for me. I mean, we are very habitual of going to the classes, a teacher teaching us, and then we are habitual of going and giving the examinations, and there is this report card. So when I went there, the biggest challenge for me was to understand the entire education system, that I don't have to just sit in the examination. Every day is going to be an examination for me, when I just have to go back and have some research done and prepare my study paper. So when you present your paper and you start writing your papers, and then that gets evaluated, it's kind of a shift from Indian system when you go to the UK. So for me, biggest challenge was one, catching up in the classes and getting accustomed to the examination and paper-based system. And number two was, I was really culturally shocked, but it took some time, 2 to 3 weeks. And once you start cooking, you start having your own food, you get comfortable in your accommodation, and you start making friends, everything just falls into place.
For me, it was weather. Still till date, it's weather.
So we should advise them to carry warm clothes, umbrella, raincoats, etc. along with them.
Yes.
Everything, wear in layers, have a backpack, and put whatever you can get, accommodate in the bag.
Right. And in the month of December, you may just see like it's night at 3 p.m. or 4 p.m. So you may want to have your cup of evening tea at 5 p.m., but it will be dark, like totally dark.
Excellent. Thank you. We have so many questions. Sorry, we are running out of time. I'm going to take one last question. And then to all the other questions that have not been answered, we'll send it to the panelists here. And we have your email IDs here, audience. We'll answer you back. So sorry, we're running out of time, so we can only pick up limited number of questions. So the last one for the day is, I have to target for September 2023. So I'm sure this is admission. For that, I will have to apply in September this year, but I will be in my 7th semester in September this year. So for application, will the university score till 6th semester count? Did the question make sense? Mahima, Shonagh, anyone?
Yes, so I think we did cover this during the presentation. So yes, you can apply with your 6th semester scores right now. We will be happy to issue you conditional offer based on that score. We will put your final scores as a condition in the offer. And so once you have your final scores available with you, you fulfill the condition, like the minimum criteria given in the offer, then that's when we make the offer unconditional. So we do understand that when you start your application early, you would not have your results available. Even for undergraduate students, when you're applying for universities, obviously you would be still in your grade 12 and would have not cleared your grade 12 by that time. So based on the predicted scores that students get from their schools, we are happy to make a conditional offer based on that. And once you give us your final results, the offer will turn unconditional if you fulfill the minimum criteria, minimum requirement.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Mahima. With that, we come to the end of the webinar. It's been so lovely so lovely to have all of you, dear panelists. You've been great. I think you have answered the questions which the audience wanted, which our attendees sought for. Specifically, Shonagh and Mahima, thank you for representing your universities and bringing out the questions that people have from colleges, universities in UK. Sandy, thank you so much for answering questions on English language proficiency tests and other allied questions. They were very, very helpful. Saurabh, from the accommodation point of view, one thing I learned, if I have to send my kids, accommodation is one thing I would not take lightly. Which is very important. Thank you for bringing that perspective, and also for the scholarship that University Living is giving to the people who want to study in UK. And Aarzoo, thank you again for being an international student and bringing a perspective of life in UK as an international student. So a big thank you, guys. With that, we will now give a chance to our attendees to win some prizes. Please do not leave this link as soon as we all go away. This chat will be open. There will be a link will be shared with you. There are 10 questions. You'll be able to start in the next 4 minutes or less. You'll have 15 minutes to answer those 10 questions. And people who win the prizes will be the maximum number of correct answers and quick turnaround. Simple, easy, easy. With that, you get 3 TOEFL vouchers, 5 Amazon vouchers, and 5 TOEFL ASRs. So all the very best to all of you. And dear panelists, thank you so very much. Again, it's a pleasure having you, and hope we'll have you in other webinars as we come along.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very
Thank
much,
you.
Pawan, and all the very best to all the attenders for the quiz. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Yes, good luck.
Thanks, Pawan. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you all.